Hello everybody, welcome to a video on a machine that is 115 years old. It's seen a day or two. It was made in 1900. We know it's had one owner, and because of that owner I'm going to christen the machine Audrey. And the reason for that is, here, along with the machine, which Nina bought a little while ago, was a card, or is a card, and it says, "A loving gift to our dear Audrey, congratulations and loving wishes for your 21st birthday, from Mum and Dad, 5th of the 6th, 1951. So the machine was 51 years old when Audrey got it as a birthday present. Think about that, a 21st birthday present. It's absolutely, it's not pristine, but it's damn good. It is beautiful, and it goes very, very well. Nina has cleaned it, and she's cleaned it thoroughly, and I've oiled it. So everything is set. It does turn beautifully, and very quietly, and very freely. I'm going to go through threading it, setting it up, checking the tension, adjusting the tension if needs be, and then sewing and seeing how well it will actually sew. It hasn't been used since we've had it, and Nina's probably had it 6 or 8 months, so it's the first time. The first job is going to be to thread the bobbin. So I have in here a bobbin and some nice shiny orange cotton. On these bobbins, these shuttle bobbins, they're all very similar, but a few of them have a hole in the end, in that bit there. This one doesn't have. It doesn't matter if there's a hole in there. Thread the cotton through that, and then it will trap into the mechanism here for winding on easily. When you haven't got a hole, just put the cotton in between the end of the bobbin and the end of the winder. It does the same thing. So let's have a go. We'll put the cotton onto the spool there. We go round that catch there, the guide, back diagonally across the machine into a little hook at the bottom. There's another hook on there, if you can see it, and then it'll go onto the spool. I'm going to put it onto the spool before I check these off, because the cotton keeps dropping out whilst it's loose. So the bobbin is going to go into this piece, and that is spring loaded. I'll get my hand out of the way so you can see it. Okay, and it goes into that section there, and I'm going to trap the cotton on the right hand side. Like he says. It's ever so easy really, it's just me being a bit wooden. And there we go. So the cotton's trapped, the bobbin is in, the cotton then goes over the top hook into the bottom hook there. I'll take the slack up before we start, like so. The winder is pushed up so that the wheel catches the balance wheel, the clutch is unfastened, and we wind away. There it goes. And this is time that you go and have a cup of tea or whatever whilst I wind the bobbin. I think that should be sufficient. Cut the thread. Remove the surplus cotton. For this test I'm using 2 different colours. We're going to use this green on top, the turquoise green, and It's never easy, is it? And orange from the bottom. The idea is it's important when checking the stitch in the material that we can see the two different cottons. The orange will obviously be underneath, the green will be on top, and want to compare where the two interlink and what colours we can actually see top and bottom of the fabric after the stitching is done. So we'll take this out first of all and we'll thread it into the shuttle. Now there's a right and a wrong way for this. If I hold the bobbin like that, you can see, but the cotton is actually wound that way and comes off there. Okay, that way, not this way. And in that position it drops into the bobbin, into the shuttle case, so that it comes off the bobbin and into that slot and back down. Right, and from there, holding it in, bobbin in with my thumb, take the cotton to the top and pull it straight back, he says. And that's gone. So now the cotton is coming out of the centre and not down the side, and it just pulls straight out. Now the tension needs to be sufficient to just hold the bobbin. If it's too loose, holding the cotton, the whole thing will just drop down. If it's too tight, it won't go down at all. But by giving it a jiggle, it drops down. We'll have a pause. So, if the bobbin is so loose that when you hold it on the cotton and it drops down, there's a tension screw there, and by giving it, say, a third or half a turn, you can tighten it until the whole thing just holds nicely. If I give it a good jiggle, I won't do because the bobbin will drop out, it should slide down a little bit through the cotton going through the tensioner. Okay, anyway, let's put it in and have a go. So it goes in, the point faces me, it just drops into the holder, and the cotton needs putting in the space at the back. There it goes, and we can now put the slides back in. So that's it, we've got that bit on. We'll now do the cotton on top, which is hopefully easier. I'm struggling to see to thread the things these days, but we'll have a go. From the bobbin holder to the first guide, which we use for the initial bobbin winding, but this time it now goes straight down and round the back of the tensioner, the top thread tensioner. There are two little discs there, you can see those there, and the cotton is going to go between those, starting at the back, going round under the back of the thumb pressure button there, and up the other side. When it comes up, if I just give that a jiggle, if I press that button, it goes easily. Let go of the button and it goes tighter. Okay, so that's the pressure release. And then thread to the take-up arm, which is there. And with that bit out of the way, we can complete the linkage here. When the cotton comes up between the two guides, there's a little bar there that the cotton, that bit, the cotton goes over the top of, like that, and then into that spring. Is that visible? There, look. So we'll do that. And that's got it. Okay, so hopefully if I pull on the cotton, you can see that spring moving up and down. Okay, and from there we go down through this guide on the end plate there, another guide at the bottom which is in there like that, and then I'm going to thread the thread through the needle, going from this side to that side, left to right. It comes into the machine. Now here, my hands might be in the way, I apologise for that, but I'll do it as quickly as I can. Which may be some time. And the photographer, the camera woman, is not allowed to laugh. There we go, thank goodness for needle threaders. There we go. Right, so the top thread is now threaded all the way on the machine. So from the spool, first guide, around the threader, up over the little bar, out and into that spring tensioner there, up to the top arm, down through the guide and into the guide at the top of the needle bar, and then through the needle. Now, if I give it a turn over, give the machine a turn, as the needle goes down, it should automatically pick up the orange cotton, which is on the bobbin, inside. If you remember, it's in there. And there it is, look, a bit of cotton. Okay. So I'll just hold my finger on it, keep it reasonably firm. Oh, tighten the catch up. And there, it's pulled it straight away. That's not bad first attempt for a machine that's well over 100 years old. So there's the orange cotton going out there, and here is the green cotton going through the presser foot there and out up with the orange as well. If I want to make the green pull easy, I just remember to press that little button in. This is the tension on the tensioner. So we're all set. Now I'm going to get some material which we have strategically placed. Here it's white, so we can see the green and the orange cotton clearly. I'm going to do a whole run, or at least halfway down, so we'll have a good look at what stitching is like. It may be good, it may need the tension adjusting. Let's find out. So in we go. So. And that's it, let's have a wind away. Yes, that's going. Run away. Notice how the shuffle going backwards and forwards, it does make the table wobble slightly. Sign of a 28 sewing machine. Stop there, and let's have a look. Stop with the needle down and let's have a look. Right, I think the camera will be able to pick this up. Well, I can see green cotton very, very clearly all the way down, and which is as it should be. The green's on top, that's on top, green on top, so we're spot on. What's it like underneath? And underneath we have got a nice row of even orange cotton. I'll hold that so you can see it. If I look really closely, I can see that in between each piece of orange there's a little bit of green. The orange is going through and coming back and pulling the green from the top. If we look this side, the same thing is happening. The green is going in and back up and pulling just a little bit of the orange through as well. So we've got green with a spot of orange, and here we've got orange with a spot of green. Now that tells me the tension is set spot on. The top and bottom tension is spot on. The thing is sewn perfectly. That is fine for pretty well any thickness of material now. It won't need changing. The only time you'll need to alter the tension is if you have a different cotton, a thicker one or a thinner one. It does make a difference. Always start by checking the bottom tension on the little screw on the shuttle. It wants to be able to just hold the shuttle from dropping down without too much of a jerk. and then the top one, set that according to the bottom. If you find that you've got a lot of a bird's nest effect on here and it's loose and sloppy, tighten that screw a little bit. If it's too loose, if it's too tight, slacken it off. Let's have a go at that just to show you. I'm going to slacken it right off, so we'll go back a good half turn. So there we go, to there. Now let's see what happens. Still sews. But there's a difference. First of all, there's more green showing through underneath. You can see almost exactly, there's the sewing that I did originally, and it changes there. So now we've got more green coming through because the green tension is very slack. And if we look on top, I set it up for you, if you can see that, again you can see a little bit of orange showing through where the tension is correctly set, and here it's pure green. Alright, so we'll put it back where it was, which was there, and we'll do another breed just to check that it's still going okay. But I said a breed, I'm not ploughing a field, but we'll do another row of sewing. Well over 100 years old, going like a wood. Okay, now that's gone exceptionally well. Alright, I'm sure you can see that. But there's a few more things I want to show you. I need to sharpen my scissors. There we go. That screw there adjusts the size of the stitch. The further it's screwed in, the larger the stitch, the more it's screwed out, the smaller the stitch. And that's about midway actually, it's a reasonable average size stitch. Another point, people often mention that these older machines, they're okay, but they haven't got a reverse on them, so you cannot sew backwards. Those that have a reverse, it's usually a lever built onto this section here. There's a slot with a lever sticking out, and you just push it down to go in reverse and up to go forward. It's clearly marked, and it's a very good thing to have. This hasn't got that, but it isn't the end of the world. Think why you need a reverse. When you're starting sewing with a more modern machine, you would put the cotton, put the material in, lower the presser foot. You would sew forward a bit, flick the lever, sew back a bit over the original sewing, flick it down again and sew forward, so that the end piece of sewing is stitched over twice. That stops it from fraying undone. It's a good secure thing to do. These don't do that. But it's not important because you can do it with no problem at all. Do it by hand. And what you do, lower it, put the material in, put the presser foot down and give it 3 or 4 stitches. Like that. Stop with the needle going up, and when the needle gets to the top, the walker feet underneath will start to pull the material through. At the point where the material just starts to pull through, which is there, lift the presser foot, pull the material back to the beginning, close it, put the presser foot down and resew. How about that? And that will secure it. I have in fact got this piece of cotton caught in there. It doesn't matter, I can thread it out. There it is, pull it out now. But that's me not being careful. There we go, it's out of the way. So I'll keep going to the end and get further down, and we'll take that and have a look at that. Coming to the end, we want to finish up with an end of sewing that isn't going to thread undone. So we'll do the same thing again. Turn, watch for the material going back, there it goes. Lift, press the foot up, pull the material back in towards me, press the foot down and sew over the end piece. And stop there. And now we can have a look at the result. Right, now that's the finish, and if I shine it hold it to the light, you should be able to see the finish. I've not got it quite straight, but that's double sewed. It's off to one side a little bit, but if that makes sense, you should be able to see it. At the beginning here, where I caught the cotton, it's not a problem, just snip that little bit off. There. And there is the beginning of the stitching that's over sewn twice, and it won't come undone. It is as easy as that. There's nothing else to add to it. If you come across one of these machines, buy it. They're not very large. This one Nina particularly liked because it's on a nice little table, so it can be folded down inside the tabletop. That piece can fold over, and you have a little cabinet that can be used for putting cups of coffee on, flower vases or whatever. It's a nice piece of furniture. All the ancillary bits can be stored on the inside, which is very convenient, and it's as usable today as it was when it was first made. It's over 100 years old. If it's looked after and maintained, it will certainly go for another 100 years and still sew as well as it is at the moment. I'm going to just mention a little bit about lubrication, which I'm sure is important. Nina's cleaned it and I've lubricated it. Anything where you've got moving parts, metal on metal, needs a spot of oil. You need a good thin machine type oil. If you can't get machine oil, go to your local gun shop and get some gun oil. There's not much difference and they both serve the purpose very well. Places to oil. If we start this side, if I turn it slightly, it doesn't make much difference, but there's the wheel in there, which has got the handle fastened to it. There's a hole in the centre to put an oil can, a couple of spots of oil in there. You've then got an arm on top here, which has got a little hole, you can probably see that, just in there. So, oil can in there, a couple of spots of oil. On the main bearing here, behind that nut, there's another hole, 2 or 3 spots of oil. One there, 2 or 3 spots of oil. There's one there and one there. Those two, put the oil can in, let the oil drip in 2 or 3 spots whilst you're turning the handle very slowly. That will give the shaft inside a chance to move around, and the oil will spot onto different sections of the shaft. That's an important bit to do. In here, in this bell-shaped little inspection panel, there is the tension arm, there's what's the wrong word, the pickup arm, and it moves. So when you've got the inspection chamber open, a drop of oil on top, and where that end of that pin is, there's a pin that goes into the machine. It's sliding in a grooved shaft on the rotating shaft that's going that way. When we get it to about there, I can just see the slot. There's room to get an oil can in there and put a couple of spots of oil on that shaft, so the whole thing, as it rotates around, moves up and down nice and easily. Next, a spot of oil on here, and a spot of oil on the needle bar there. And that's about it on the outside. Oh yes, the bobbin winder. There's a hole there, spot of oil there, a spot of oil on these threads, and here there's a cam which rotates, a spot of oil where this piece of metal hits the rotating cam. Keeps that running nice and free. So that's that side. Underneath there's also one or two bits. Oh no, I've forgotten. If we look inside here, there is a hole full of candle wick or cotton wool or whatever material soaked in oil, and it's at the bottom. You've got the hole going down, and at the bottom a hole drilled horizontally, a little tiny one, which is right into the face of the guide shaft for the shuttle to move on. And the oil drips through ever so slowly, hits the shuttle, and it keeps that bearing, or that bearing surface, nicely lubricated. If it's not maintained with a few spots of oil, the thing will still go, but not as well. When we got the sewing machine, I actually prized the old wick out, and I found to my horror that the horizontal hole was clogged up, so I got a very fine drill, just drilled it out with my fingers, twiddled away and cleared the hole. And then I got a cotton wool bud and cleaned out a new gunge, sort of in there. That's the actual cotton wool bud. Can you see on the end of that just how dirty it is? Little things like that just make a difference to the machine, make it go very well. Now I'll put this plate back on and we'll have a look underneath. If I can get it on. There we go. Now, underneath, we're getting to the end of our time, but let's have a quick look. Now, tell you what, we'll just stop for a moment. There's going to be a pause, and we'll come back to lubricating the under section in a few minutes. Okay, folks, so we've talked about setting the sewing machine up. We've talked about lubricating it, putting oil onto the bobbin race, and generally using the sewing machine. But I do just want to mention a few things about the underside of it. If I tip it back, like so, underneath there isn't a lot to show you, but there are a few places that do need lubricating. I'm just going to hold on for a second. I'm going to go back and just take the bobbin out so that we can play around with it without getting a bird's nest of cotton underneath. There we go. We'll take the top one out as well. And then have another go. Right, now if I rotate the machine, there's not a lot of moving parts. You've got an arm here going to and fro. You've got another one here which is going to and fro and it's worked on a connecting rod. There's the race to put the oil on from the top, and the places to lubricate are on this shaft here. That one, there's a, if I can find it, there's a hole for oil in there, and another one, I've got to look, there isn't one this side. You need to dribble a bit of oil either side of that connecting rod. That's a bearing, a flat metal bearing, a bit of oil either side there, same on this one, and run it to get the oil to soak in nicely. And when you finish, just check how much tension there is on that, or how much wear. If I'm quiet, you can hear the movement as I rock it. Okay, now that's moving probably, oh I don't know, 0.2 of a millimetre, just a small amount of movement. If it was really slack and sloppy, the wear can be taken up by a screw where my finger is there, and another one this side, so they can both tighten up independently. And Adjust them after you put the oil into the bearing. You need to have space left for the oil to drip in, and then you can get a screwdriver and just tighten that bearing, that nut a little bit, and this one, until there's just a very small amount of movement, and then it's nicely set up. You also need a little bit of lubrication on that race there. If you see the arm going backwards and forwards, it's moving that arm, which is part of the walker feet. So as that goes up and down, there's a bar going across, and that's the shaft that's actually fastened to the walker feet. See the movement? A little bit of lubrication on that. And that's it. These here, there's oil hole there and one there, but the movement is so small, nothing to really concern yourself about, but maybe a spot of oil there occasionally and one there, and Bob's your uncle, you're in business. And that's it, that's all there is to say about it. This particular machine is superb. It is probably worth mentioning that if you've got the larger model, which is the Model 127, the workings are just the same. It's bigger, it's heavier, and if anything, it's a little bit more clumsy to use, but still a superb machine, as this is. It's a stunning bit of kit, and goes very, very well. If I slacken the drive clutch off, there is a little bit of movement on the flywheel, but it's so minimum. After 115 years, in another 115 years time, it'd be a little bit worse, but it's no problem at all. And that's all I've got to say about it. Thank you for having a look. Enjoy using yours. If you haven't got one, go out and get one. They're readily available, and will sew forever and a day. Thank you very much.